So this is one of the first things that I've noticed, but I have seen this before, but it is a structure, isn't it? Definitely a structure of some kind. Do you know what these are? I'm going to make my way over here in this direction. I have been asked, or it was suggested by Afeanean, for me to sit down for a while. I'll take in the evening sunlight. Just want to get on this side of the forest to try and catch it. Well, this is really interesting. I'm getting lots of what I'd call corner of the eye movement. There we go. Little piece of stickery. That is a little piece of stickery. This is a whopping great big piece of stickery. I can hear some bees, a swarm of bees, but I can't see them. They must have swarmed onto a tree somewhere. I can hear them, but I can't see them. Today I have some questions from Greg Roth. And you're up in the big country, way up in the north there. So Greg asks some questions, and his first one is, who are you? So he's asking, who am I speaking to? On this occasion today, I'm speaking to Afeanean. So my question to Afeanean is, what peoples are you? And her response is, we are Janu. We populate large areas of this planet, and with those of you who are willing to connect with us, we will gladly connect. So when you're using mind speak, it does it matter what language a person speaks? So if I was to speak Hindustani, would it matter? And she's saying no, it's because of the thought. It's the thought that is being intercepted. It's the thought that's been transmitted to me that I'm hearing, and they are receiving my thoughts as I'm speaking. So I think this is why sometimes before you've even got your question out, they may answer us because we've thought about the question we're going to ask split seconds before it's actually been spoken of. So Greg's next question is, why are you stepping forward at this time? Right, it's a very, very simple answer, because the world is in need. We are about balance. We create balance. We try to restore balance. So I would have a follow-on question for that, and I hope you don't mind me asking this, Greg, but my question would be, in areas of land that have seen much bloodshed, angst, fear, is that a place that you would gravitate toward? Absolutely. Absolutely. So there are many types of Janu. Can you say how many types there are? So she is saying you segregate them into 4 types, but there are more. So there are channels who, and I think this comes directly from the government actually, from their information, and they have sort of identified 4 different groups. Now, thank you, Afeanean. What she's saying is here, they are not treating like with like. Are we talking apples and pears? We're talking light and dark. That's what she's saying. We're talking light and dark. There are species that we as humans, we call them as human beings Janu, but they are not. do you mean we call them Sasquatch? We call them Sasquatch, but they are not. They carry darkness. So what she's saying here is, if you think of anything when you see a Sasquatch covered in hair, bipedal, big, strong, and we recognize them to be Sasquatch, but we would not compare or say human beings who are also could be big, strong, covered in hair, some of them, you would not also call them Sasquatch just because they are bipedal. And the same applies with the other types. Just because they're bipedal, predominantly bipedal, does not mean they are the same. So what she's saying is here, because a dog is covered in hair and has 4 legs and a tail, it does not mean it is the same as a camel that has 4 legs, a tail, and covered in hair. They're 2 completely different species. But if you were to describe one, you would say, well, they've got 4 legs, they're covered in hair, and they have a tail, so therefore they are the same. So I think there needs to be some discernment with us, more discernment. And I know there's some people out there who only want to see Dogman. I mean, there are channels that go on and on and on about them. I just switch off. I think you'll see what you want to see. Greg asks, what is your purpose? And I think we have covered it in a previous answer to a question. Where there is disharmony, we will try to bring harmony. And I don't think that's necessarily amongst humans. I think that can be on the land, on the earth. Am I right in thinking for other beings? I'm hearing them saying, we are the barrier. Is this between light and dark? In some cases. In some cases. That's not to say that we wouldn't defend ourselves. We will defend ourselves. Within the instinct of survival. So last question from Greg is, what is your message to humanity? Wow, Greg, that's a big question. Right, you must learn to come together. You must learn to accept each other. You must be more loving. We agree to differ. We all do, that's our nature. It's the nature of thought. But that's as far as it should go. We still have to protect ourselves and the land. Getting lots of noises from here. Human beings can show total disregard for each other. That's so true, isn't it? Very true. So learn to live with each other and learn to love one another. We all need to live by the same moral code. And sometimes it's difficult. And this is the purpose of our connections now. To get people to see other things. To get people to see there is another way. I think what you're doing is opening doors for us, is that correct? Greg, my friend, as ever, Greg always asks some very poignant questions, superb questions. I hope your answers are okay for you and everybody else. I hope we all get something from them. So I just want to say thank you to Afeanean for answering those questions. Well, that's not by accident, is it? Neither is that. Upturned V there. And that stick going there. I've not seen this one before. This is a new one. So I've brought some goodies, my little bag. I'm just going to ask if this is an acceptable place to leave them. Would this be okay? It would be lovely, thank you. Okay. We've got these, which are called, they're Arabian musk. So hopefully they're nice. Hopefully. So I'm just going to put these around the front, I think. And this is what we have. So some peanut butter, some almonds, chocolate biscuits called Twix, some dates, more Twix, and that's hazelnut at the back, and then some dried apricots, and over here some apples. So I asked about the time loss. And I said, does that happen in every forest? And she said it depends if areas are activated. So I said areas as in portals? Is that what you're saying? Does it depend if portals are activated? And she says yes. She's also just told me I was standing on one. Is that what this is? All of this here? Portal? Telling me to come round the front and look at it. And again, we've seen this shape with the vertical stick in the middle and the two diagonals to the left and to the right, like the point of an arrow. So my next question to Afeanean is, if that's the case, does that mean that if a portal is activated, there will be time loss? And she's saying absolutely, there will be. It doesn't have to be long. They differ in their times. They don't have to be long. Don't have to be a long length of time. They can differ. But that's what she's saying. That time loss is associated with what we call portals. When you say what we call portals, what do you call them? Transmission. It equates to transmission. Can be transmission of sight, can be transmission of sound, transmission of the being, as in yourselves. Yes. Well, yet again, thanks to Afeanean, we've learnt something again. What I was going to say, folks, was I hope you enjoyed the video last week of Scotland. Just a little different scenery. I hope you enjoyed it. So my question now to Afeanean will be, does every forest or collection of trees have entrance and exit points, as in portals or zones of transmission, dependent on what is required? Well, I hope that was interesting, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the short programme today. It's great, isn't it, at this time of day? The light is just beautiful. I've actually turned the camera down, the light on the camera, to match what I see, because these cameras compensate when it's very bright or very dark in places and bright in others. They overcompensate. And I'd like you to see it how I see it. It's a hawk. been left by a hawk of some kind. Interesting that if you look down the forest from here, let's take this angle, and we've got 3 different leaners. So we've got this one here, there, you see that? Going across. Then much further back, probably about 30 meters, we've got this one here. And then we've got this one here. I've not really noticed that before, but they're all parallel, perfectly parallel. If you look at them, they're like that, that, and that, perfectly parallel. Might be something, might be nothing. Let's see if I can make my way out. Easier said than done. I really want to thank Greg for asking some really great questions. And I'd like to thank you all for bearing with me and watching. It's very kind of you, and I appreciate your company. And I always appreciate your questions. So if you've got a series of questions that you want to ask, fire them this way. Rather than me doing like a question and answer video, we'll just try and incorporate it in the normal video. So see the length of this stick here, and then you've got these bars across it. Is that spelt Ogham? What's your thoughts? What do you think? That's the barrier to get in here. Alright, so that's the time, and we have about 48 minutes of film. So that's pretty much right. No slippage this week. Well, I'm going to try and make my way home now. And I'm going to say thanks very much, folks. It's a lovely evening. I'm out and about all the time, but I don't always get to appreciate the countryside around me. You know, you just do your job, don't you? Forget to appreciate what's around us. So good health, everybody. Stay well, look after yourselves, and we'll see you next week. Bye.